All right, got the bang on deck. Let's continue our discussion of serial homicide and serial murderers. Okay, so when you look in the media, you would think that there's literally a serial killer on every corner, okay? And that's just not the truth, okay? First of all, you're very unlikely to be murdered in your lifetime, and if you were, God forbid, let's just assume that's not going to happen, but it would be by someone that you would know, and there would be some type of motive involved, okay? And then we have these guys. So there are people that can have these personality traits that I'm going to talk about, but they're not serial killers, okay? And I am betting that you already know someone, or if you don't, you certainly will come across people who have these traits at some point in your life, okay? Doesn't mean they're a serial killer. But when you have a perfect combination of genetics, because there actually have been shown to be genes in your DNA that are correlated with an increased chance of being in the criminal justice system, let's just say it that way, with past abuse history, whether it is mental, physical, or sexual. And then you have this combination of mental disorders. And so these are personality disorders that I'm going to talk about. Personality disorders are basically, this is what the person's makeup is, all right? It's not a mental illness like, say, depression or anxiety, which are treatable, okay? You can potentially, take meds for anxiety and for depression, and it's basically just stabilizing your brain chemistry, as all those meds do. This is how the person is, okay? And I'll give you a couple examples of, can these people be treated or not? They can choose to alter their behavior, but is there some kind of quick fix or a pill that they can take to, not be a sociopath? No, unfortunately. Okay, so the first trait psychologically that all of the offenders that when we're talking about the Ted Bundys of the world have in common is narcissism. So narcissism is defined as an extreme selfishness and basically having a grandiose view of your own talents, okay? So it comes from the Greek god Narcissus, who basically started looking at his reflection in a pool, and he was in love with himself, was just like, oh my God, you're so gorgeous, I gotta give you a kiss, and he ended up drowning himself, okay? So that's where the term narcissism comes from. So people who just, kind of think that they're the best at everything, and a lot of times they have their view of themselves does not fit with reality, and they have a craving for admiration, okay? So, I'm the best at everything. Let me give you an example of an exchange with a narcissist, okay? So let's say that you go on a ski trip with some of your friends, and you come back and you're talking about the trip. So a typical person who's not a narcissist would say, oh, how was your trip? Tell me about it. Did you have fun? What kind of trails did you ski? A narcissist would say, oh, well, that's nice. You went on your trip. I was a ski champion in college, and I did this, and I did this, and I did that. They would make the discussion about them, okay? That's what a narcissist is. Then we have antisocial personality disorder, which is also known as sociopathy, or being a sociopath. And so this is defined as a mental condition, and it's really a personality disorder in which a person basically has no regard for right and wrong. If they want to do something, they're very impulsive and they're just going to do it. So they tend to manipulate others. A lot of times they will live a very parasitic lifestyle, not paying rent, not paying bills, and they really kind of don't care because, if they can manipulate people, well, they're just smarter than other people. So, there's no guilt or remorse for their behavior. Okay, now that being said, sociopaths, can form relationships, and they're not they're not all evil, okay? If they also have an element of narcissism, yeah, okay, then you have a person that you probably don't want to be associated with. But sometimes some mental health professionals refer to sociopathy as being empathy deficient, okay? And empathy is when you can feel the pain of others. You can put yourselves in their place and really feel for them. Sociopaths don't have that ability. And, so they just don't have it. And some of them use that to their benefit. Other people just, I can't feel it, but they're not trying to be manipulative. So sociopaths I see them as less evil. Okay, that's just my opinion. Obviously, I'm not certainly didn't major in psychology, so I'm not trying to, come off as a psychologist here. But then if we take that a step further, okay, then you have psychopathy. Okay, so psychopathy, or someone being a psychopath, some of the things they have in common, and we see these in serial offenders. First of all, we'd love for psychopaths to, and all of our, predators, whether it be a pedophile or, a serial killer, to have horns and green teeth and a humpback. It'd be great if we could just look at them and be able to pick them out. Unfortunately, they can be very charismatic and they fit right into society. But what separates them is that underneath the surface, once you get past that superficial charm, they don't have a conscience and they are incapable of feeling empathy. Okay? They also have the potential to be very manipulative. They can be volatile. Now, you can be a psychopath, but not be a criminal. Okay? Hey, Gertie, don't even think about it. Gert. Sorry, I had to yell at the dog. So, for example, and I'll try to find this article, and it was actually science-based. It wasn't some kind of pop culture article, but they looked, the top professions that tended to have the highest number of people with psychopathy, and no surprise to me, politicians, celebrities, let's see, and unfortunately, law enforcement. So you can have a lot of sociopathy and psychopathy in those professions. Psychopaths also like to be in absolute control and have power. Okay, so if we think of think of a person who works for a big company, and the CEO has decided, you know what, we're going to close that plant, and so we're going to go into this small town, and everyone's going to lose their jobs, and it's going to be totally disruptive to them. So someone has to go there and fire all of those people, okay? A sociopath can do that and not feel bad about it. They can just be like, well, the company wasn't doing well, we had to do this, so, kind of sucks to be you, but, if you take that to the level of psychopathy, it would be the person who actually gets pleasure from, telling all of these people that, hey, you're losing your jobs. Guess what? Oh, well, that's the difference. Okay. So if you look at this statement, what separates a psychopath from a sociopath is a level of cruelty or sadism in their behavior. So sadism is defined as when someone derives pleasure, and with these killers, we're talking about sexual gratification usually, from inflicting pain, suffering, or humiliation on others. So it's basically deliberate cruelty. Okay, so you probably have heard maybe like about bondage discipline, sadomasochism, introduced to the general public in the 50 Shades of Grey movie, which was, I have to say, the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. So incredibly stupid. So people can be sadists, and they can be, masochistic, and it's a sexual fetish, but they do it consensually. Okay, when someone has sadism inflicted upon them and they're not consenting to that behavior, then that's when we have a problem. Okay, so and once again, you can be a sadist and not be a criminal. It could be, you know, maybe a narcissistic, you know, parent who purposely embarrasses their child in public, even though they could, you know, handle a situation differently and maybe talk to their child privately, but they choose to do it and humiliate them. That would be a level of sadism. So serial murderers, sorry for the typo, that should be murderers, are a mix of psychopathy, sociopathy, narcissism, a genetic component, brain anatomy and structure, which we're going to get to in a little bit, and then normally they have some type of abuse in their history. Not always, but a lot of them do. Okay. However, there are a lot of people out there that have abuse in their history, whether it's sexual, you know, they were abused as children, who don't go on to become psychopaths. I mean, unfortunately, if that was the way of the world, you know, there would be a psychopath on every corner. And some people just, you know, they're very resilient, and, you know, if they were abused as children, then they make a conscious decision that, you know, I'm never going to abuse my child. I'm going to give them a better life. Okay, so abuse history doesn't always dictate that a person's going to be a psychopath. There's a lot of people who are good people who, you know, take that experience and then don't continue the cycle. Unfortunately, some people do continue the cycle, but thankfully not always. Okay, so it really has to be, that's why I call it like a perfect storm. It has to be all of these things. The other thing I want to clarify, so psychopaths are born that way. Okay, can someone come out of the womb and be a psychopath? Yes, they can. Okay, because a lot of times it has to do with brain structure and genetics, and then, you know, influence of nature, you know, or nurture. But can you have a psychopath that comes from two loving parents that was in a wonderful home? Yep. Psychopaths are born. Sociopaths are made. Okay, so this is where we worry about, you know, where children are desensitized to violence, or if they learn early that, you know, I have to victimize other people or I'm going to get victimized. Okay, and they have no empathy for the people that they're victimizing. They probably didn't start out that way. Okay, so sociopathy can be made. Psychopaths are born that way. So there's an interesting study that was done by Dr. Robert Hare, okay, who is a pioneer in this field. And he would go around to prisons and he would interview people who were, you know, convicted of certain crimes, who were thought to have, you know, a degree of psychopathy. And what he did was he developed what is called Hare's Psychopathy Checklist. And this is a test that is hold on, Gertie, I mean it, girl, you are working my nerve. Okay, just go chew on a bone or something. I'm almost done here. So it's a 20-question test, and it looks for the following traits, okay? Is there a lack of a conscience, a lack of empathy? A lot of times psychopaths are just pathological liars. They lie for no reason, or to get out of trouble, or to, you know, make themselves look better. Repeated violations of social norms could be something as simple as, you know, I'm going to shoplift. I want that, you know, Apple Watch, and I don't have the money for it, but so what? I want it, so therefore I'm going to take it. That kind of fits into disregard for the law. They have very shallow emotions, okay? So a lot of times you'll see them, you know, having multiple romantic partners or multiple marriages because they just can't sustain an actual healthy relationship. And a history of victimizing others. Now that, you know, that doesn't always mean physical harm. It can mean abusing someone financially to support their lifestyle, something like that. Okay, so I've looked online for Hare's Psychopathy Checklist, and what I found is that the only people that have access to it are people who are board certified, licensed mental health professionals. And even they can only access it if they are treating those kinds of patients at the time. And it's not just a 20-point question and, oh, you're done. I mean, obviously they sit there and they interview them. I mean, it's a lot of different things that goes into making, you know, a diagnosis of psychopathy. Also, there is a distinction too. So people who are children, okay, so under the age of 18, cannot get a diagnosis of psychopathy. They are often given, hey, girls, come on, trying to teach here, dude, of what's called conduct disorder. And then once a person becomes an adult and they hit 18, yes, then they can potentially get a diagnosis of psychopathy, narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, those types of things. Okay, I will post the traits and a test that's similar, so you can look at the types of questions. But yeah, only qualified mental health professionals can get a hold of this, which is the way it should be, because we don't want the psychopaths being able to study the test and beat it. I'm also going to post a video from a psychologist. He's in Canada. His name is Jordan Peterson, and he talks about interviewing psychopaths and how they're able to manipulate interviews. And he actually mentions Dr. Hare and how Dr. Hare would interview these people and they'd be really charming and oh boy, I really liked him. And then it wasn't until he watched the video of the interview later that he's like, what just happened? I totally got manipulated. Also, he's going to mention, Jordan Peterson is going to mention a guy, a serial offender who's actually the worst serial killer in Canada's history. His name is Paul Bernardo. And I'm going to post a short clip of Paul Bernardo being interviewed. And you can see how he kind of handles being asked basically what is a yes or no question. And he uses a technique called word salad, where he basically just starts going off on all these different tangents. And, if the detectives interviewing him are not staying focused, he will lead that conversation completely off the rails. Okay, so I'm going to post those for you under a module. I'll just call it, psychopath videos or whatever. Just look for that and you'll see, that posted on Talon as well. Okay, the other thing that is biological in nature, so now we're talking actual data, is brain anatomy and psychopathy. So there's a guy named Adrian Rain. He's a neurologist at Penn. I'm actually reading a fascinating book from him. I'll show you what that is at the beginning of our next lecture. And what he did was he had PET scans performed on the brains of known serial killers / psychopaths. And what he determined was that, and this fits into you could be born that way, because he found that psychopaths have a significantly smaller frontal cortex as compared to non-psychopathic individuals. And no surprise, the frontal cortex is our emotional center, okay? It's where we develop empathy and compassion and the ability to bond, with other living beings. So if that's shrunken and it's not there, you're not going to be able to feel those types of feelings. He also examined metabolism when these people were shown images that most people would find disturbing, like, animals being abused, or, kids that were potentially abused and, obviously in distress. And most of us, when we see those images, we're going to want to look away. It's going to bother us. We're going to have certain physiological changes. And psychopaths, guess what? Didn't bother them at all, okay? So they had no change in their breathing patterns, their respiration. They did not have increased metabolism, which was measured in the PET scan through glucose uptake. Their heart rate didn't increase, and they didn't start sweating. Okay, well, guess what? These are the things, at least respiration, heartbeat, galvanic responses, meaning sweating, those are the things that are measured in a polygraph exam. So can a psychopath pass a polygraph? Absolutely. And we've seen that, okay? Gary Ridgway, who was the Green River Killer, was interviewed early on in that investigation, passed a polygraph with flying colors because, he didn't care. He knew what he was doing was wrong, but, oh well, I really don't care, so there's no reason to get upset about it. So, yeah, So this is an example of how, you know, psychopaths can actually be born that way. Okay, so let me stop the video there. We're right at 20 minutes. I'll pick up with MO and I will get those videos posted. Also look for an email from me. Okay, thank you.